Welcome to Postcard English Stories, your friendly space to master English, one story at a time. Whether you're here to improve your listening, speaking, or just enjoy engaging stories, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join our journey to English fluency. Let's dive right in. The rain tapped steadily against the window of the train, a soft, rhythmic patter that seemed to mirror the thoughts racing through Sarah's mind. Outside, the world was a blur of dark clouds and rain-soaked fields, but inside the carriage it was warm and quiet, almost too quiet. Sarah stared out at the gray landscape, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Life had become a constant rush, a never-ending race of deadlines, expectations, and disappointments. Work consumed, her friends drifted away, and even the simplest joys seemed to have faded into the background. She felt trapped like a passenger on a train speeding through life without a destination. Lost in her thoughts, she barely noticed when an older man quietly entered the carriage and took the seat across from her. He was in his late 60s, with a gentle face marked by age, but softened by a warm, kind smile. His silver hair framed his face, and his eyes held a calm, knowing gaze. For a while they sat in silence, the rain dancing against the window, and the soft hum of the train filling the air. Sarah tried to ignore him, her gaze fixed on the endless gray outside, but the quiet soon became unbearable. "You seem troubled, young lady." The man finally spoke, his voice gentle but clear. Sarah hesitated. Strangers rarely spoke on trains, especially not about personal things. But there was something about his voice, something calming. "It's nothing," she mumbled, trying to dismiss the conversation, but the man simply smiled. Nothing often weighs heavier than something, doesn't it? Surprised by his words, Sarah looked at him. His eyes were kind, and though they were old, they sparkled with a quiet understanding. "I've been on this earth long enough to know that sometimes the weight of nothing can be the heaviest of all," he continued. "Would you like to talk about it?" Sarah hesitated again, but as the train rolled on through the rain, she found her defenses slowly crumbling. Before she knew it, she was speaking words spilling out like a flood. She told him about her job, the relentless pressure, the feeling of always chasing but never reaching anything. She spoke of her loneliness, her fading dreams, and the constant ache of feeling lost. The old man listened without interrupting his expression, calm, his gaze unwavering. When she finally stopped, exhausted by her own confession, there was a long silence. "It sounds like you're carrying a lot more than you should," he said softly. "Life can feel like a train sometimes, can't it? Rushing forward, never stopping. But have you ever thought about where you want that train to take you?" I don't know," Sarah whispered. "I don't even know anymore." The old man leaned back, folding his hands in his lap. "When I was your age, I felt much the same. Always rushing, always trying to catch something just out of reach. But then, someone taught me a lesson, one I never forgot." "What lesson?" Sarah asked, leaning forward slightly. "That time is the most precious gift we have, and how we spend it defines who we become." Sarah's gaze softened, the weight of his words settling over her like a warm blanket. The train began to slow, the lights flickering briefly as it pulled into a small, quiet station. The old man looked out the window, then back at Sarah. "This is my stop," he said, standing up. But before he turned to leave, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, weathered box. "Here," he said, handing it to her. "A gift, a reminder." Sarah looked down at the box, its surface scratched and faded. When she looked up, the old man was already stepping off the train, disappearing into the mist and rain. Her heart raced. What could it be? And why had he given it to her? As the train began to move again, she carefully opened the box. Inside, she found a small, delicate pocket watch. Its silver surface was tarnished, but the glass face shone, and inside the clock hands ticked steadily. Etched on the inside of the cover were the words, "Time is precious. Don't waste it." Sarah stared at the watch, her fingers trembling. Who was that man? And why had he chosen to give her this gift? Her heart pounded as she looked out the window again, the rain still streaming down. But now something was different. Amidst the endless gray, there was a small flicker of light, a spark of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Days turned into weeks, but Sarah couldn't forget the old man on the train or the pocket watch he had given her. His words echoed in her mind, a quiet whisper that grew louder with each passing day. Time is precious. Don't waste it. At first she tried to ignore it, dismissing the encounter as a strange but fleeting moment. Yet the watch seemed to tick louder each time she looked at it, a constant reminder that life was slipping away. She found herself staring at it during quiet moments, feeling a strange mix of anxiety and hope. Sarah's routine life began to change. Instead of rushing through her mornings, she paused to enjoy her coffee by the window, watching the world wake up. She reached out to old friends she had lost touch with, surprised by how happy they were to hear from her. She called her mother more often, listening to stories she had heard 100 times, but now cherished. But even as her life transformed, a question lingered in her mind. Who was that old man? Why had he chosen to speak to her? Why had he given her the watch? One rainy afternoon, Sarah returned to the train station, hoping to find him again. Train after train came and went, but there was no sign of the old man. She began asking around station attendants, the ticket sellers, even the regular passengers. Most had no idea who she was talking about. Finally, an elderly conductor listened with a thoughtful expression. A man with a silver watch always giving out advice to strangers. Yes, I remember him. He was a retired professor. Used to travel often. Always said the train was the best place to see life in motion. Sarah's heart raced. Do you know where I can find him? The conductor's smile faded. I'm afraid you can't. He passed away last year. The words struck Sarah like a cold wind. Passed away, but he gave me this watch just weeks ago. The conductor shook his head slowly. I don't know what to tell you, but he had a habit of giving little tokens of wisdom to those who seemed lost. He believed that sometimes all someone needed was a little reminder. Sarah stared at the pocket watch in her hand, her fingers trembling. The man who had changed her life was gone. Yet his gift, his message remained. And in that moment she realized that perhaps she was never meant to find him again. Perhaps his purpose was to find her, to give her a gift she so desperately needed, a reminder that time is precious and every moment is a choice. Sarah couldn't shake the thought of the old man, his gentle smile, and the mysterious gift he had given her. Even though she now knew he had passed away, his presence lingered in her life. The pocket watch, with its gentle ticking and engraved message, became a constant companion. But it was more than a reminder, it was a question. Each time she looked at it, she wondered, am I making the most of my time? Sarah's days transformed. She began waking up earlier, savoring the quiet peace of dawn, instead of rushing through her mornings. She reconnected with her family, visiting her mother more often, laughing together over old stories she once dismissed. She found time for her forgotten passion, painting. Her small apartment soon became filled with canvases splashed with colors of life and hope. But more than that, she began noticing the people around her, the tired cashier at the grocery store, the elderly man struggling with his bags, the young mother calming a crying child. She realized how many lives moved around her, each with their own struggles, each racing against time. One evening, as she walked home beneath a pale orange sky, she saw a young man sitting on a bench, his head buried in his hands. Hesitating for a moment, she approached him. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. The young man looked up, his eyes red with tears. I've lost everything. My job, my girlfriend. I don't know what to do." Sarah felt a surge of empathy. Sitting beside him, she listened as he poured out his troubles. He spoke of failed dreams, of mistakes he couldn't escape, of a future that seemed dark and hopeless. When he finished, there was a long silence. Then Sarah reached into her bag, her fingers closing around the cold, smooth surface of the pocket watch. She smiled. "There was a time I felt just like you," she said, placing the watch gently into his hands. "Someone once gave me this, and it changed my life." The young man looked down at the watch, his expression confused. "But it's just a watch." "It's a reminder," Sarah whispered. "Time is precious. Don't waste it." As she stood and walked away, a sense of peace washed over her. She didn't need the watch anymore. Its message was a part of her now. But she knew that somewhere the old man was smiling his gift, continuing to change lives one heart at a time. Years passed, and Sarah's life continued to blossom. The lessons she had learned from the old man on the train became the foundation of her daily choices. She pursued her passion for painting her works, capturing moments of light and life that seemed to touch the hearts of everyone who saw them. But beyond her art, it was her kindness that became her true legacy. Sarah became known in her community as someone who always had a kind word, a listening ear, or a gentle smile. People would come to her for advice, and though she never spoke of the pocket watch directly, its message lived on in her words. One winter evening, as snowflakes danced outside her studio window, a young woman entered looking lost and tearful. She was a struggling artist, her dreams crushed by rejection after rejection. Sarah listened quietly, then reached for something in her drawer, a small, worn pocket watch. Not the one the old man had given her, but another, almost identical. She placed it in the young woman's hands. "I was once where you are," Sarah whispered, "but someone helped me see that time is precious. Don't waste it." The young woman looked at the watch, her tears turning to a hopeful smile. "Thank you. I won't forget." As the woman left, Sarah felt a warmth in her heart, a quiet joy. She had become, without even realizing it, just like the old man who had once changed her life. But one spring morning, as she was tending to her garden, an old man walked up to her gate, his eyes kind but tired. He looked at her with a gentle smile, and in that moment, Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "You," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It can't be." The old man smiled. "A gift once given never truly leaves. It just finds a new heart to call home." And just like that, he turned and walked away, fading into the morning mist. Sarah stood, frozen, tears welling in her eyes. Was it truly him? A ghost? A memory? Or perhaps something more she didn't know? But she smiled, her heart filled with peace. In the years that followed, Sarah continued to share the lessons she had learned. And though her hair turned silver and her steps grew slower, her spirit remained bright. She had become a light for others, a reminder that even a brief encounter could change a life forever. And somewhere on quiet train rides and rainy days, the story of the stranger with the pocket watch continued to unfold, one heart at a time. Decades had passed since Sarah first met the old man on the train. Her hair was silver now, her steps slower, but her spirit remained bright. Her art had become renowned, but more than that, her kindness was known far and wide. People called her the keeper of time, not just because of her paintings, but because of the wisdom she shared. But one cold winter's evening, as she sat by the window of her cozy cottage, watching the snow fall softly against the glass, she felt a familiar sense of longing. A quiet question that had never truly left her heart: who was the old man? And why had he chosen her? Her eyes drifted to the small shelf where she kept a series of pocket watches, each one gifted to someone whose life she had touched. But among them there was one empty spot, the first watch, the one he had given her. A gentle knock at the door broke her thoughts. Surprised, she stood and made her way to the door. When she opened it, the cold wind rushed in, carrying with it a dusting of snow. But there, standing on her porch, was a young woman holding a small, worn pocket watch. "Are you Sarah?" the young woman asked, her voice trembling. Yes, I am," Sarah replied, her heart racing. "This watch, someone gave it to me, an old man, on a train. He told me to find you." The young woman whispered, tears filling her eyes. "He said you would understand." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, her heart pounding in her chest. She gently took the watch, and as her fingers traced its familiar surface, she saw the engraving inside: "Time is precious. Don't waste it." Her voice broke with emotion. "He's still out there, isn't he?" The young woman nodded. "I don't know who he is, but he changed my life, just like he must have changed yours." Sarah embraced the young woman, and together they stepped inside, sitting by the warm glow of the fireplace. For hours they talked, Sarah sharing the story of the old man, of the gift that had changed her life, and how she had passed that gift on to others. As the fire crackled and the snow danced outside, Sarah felt a warmth in her heart she hadn't felt in years. The old man's gift was not just a watch, it was a message. A light passed from one soul to another, a reminder that time is the most precious gift of all. In the years that followed, the story of the stranger on the train spread beyond the village, beyond the city. It became a legend, a tale of a mysterious traveler who appeared to those in need, offering a simple watch with a profound message. And Sarah, until her last days, continued to share that message. Even as she closed her eyes for the final time, a gentle smile graced her lips. Somewhere she believed the old man was smiling too. For a gift once given never truly leaves. It simply finds a new heart to call home.